Hello everyone, I hope you're doing fine. Today we are learning about auxiliary functions in Microsoft Excel. Now, auxiliary functions are the helping functions. These are the functions which are used together with the major functions such as the digit functions, the VLOOKUP functions, and so forth and so on. So today we will look at quite a number of auxiliary functions, not all of them because there are so many. And as you can see in this particular column, I have close to 13 or so auxiliary functions that we need to look at. So we are going to begin with a function called the value function. So what does the value function do? How does it work? Understand that we don't need to guess. We'll just activate this particular cell using equal sign, and then we type in value. So when we type in value, Excel provides a tooltip that tells us that the value function converts a text string that represents a number to a number. Now, sometimes a value can be appearing as a number within a cell, but then Excel has actually stored it as a text. And one of the ways to store values as a text, having apostrophe before them. So let's check in this particular cell. We have 80. But then when you check at the formula bar, you see we have got an apostrophe before that 80. And we have got this yellow exclamatory mark glyph. And when we idle our cursor on it, we're being told that the number in this cell is formatted as a text or preceded by an apostrophe. So that's one of the ways in which we store values as text, by preceding them with an apostrophe. So let's check out how the value function works. So equal sign value. Now our text is going to be that 80, then we click on enter. What really is the impact of storing values as text and numbers in Excel? We are going to examine that using the sum function. So equal sign sum. So we'd want to begin by adding this first cell where we had the value 80 stored as a text, and we would want to add it to 50. Normally 80 plus 50 should give us 130. Let's see what this gives us. 50. Why? Because the 80 in this particular cell was stored as a text, so it's not being used. So what happens when now we change from the value stored as text to our value here, which is actually a number? So if you click on enter, now you see it's working appropriately. So let's go to the next function, that is text function. So equal sign text. It converts a value to a text in a specific number format. So right now we have here a value, so we'd want to convert it into a text. It's actually the converse of the last operation that we carried when we are handling the value function. So equal sign text bracket, our value is here. Now this, unlike the value function, has got two arguments, and the last argument is on format text. This time around, we just want to convert our value into a text without formatting it. So if you want to effect that, you just make sure you have got 0 in between your quotation marks, and then you close your parentheses. Now when you click on enter, you have got that 80. Now that 80 has been stored as a text, and how do we confirm? Let's find out. So if we should come here and then change that reference to this value here, essentially 80 plus 50 should give us 130, but this time around it's giving us 50. Why? Because this 80 has been stored as a text. If you change the reference to the initial value here, then now it should give us 130. The next function is the left function, equal sign left. It returns the specified number of characters from the start of a text string. The left function should actually just read the number at the beginning of a string. So equal sign, click on that particular string as our text. The number of characters, if you want to return, let's say just one character, then it will give you Y. The number of characters, if you want to return 2, then it gives you the first 2. If you want to return 3, it gives you the first 3, and so forth and so on. Let's move to the right function, equal sign right. It returns the specified number of characters from the end of a text string. So it's actually the opposite of the left function. So if this is our text, then let's say we want to return 3 characters from the end of a string. Let's see what it will give us. it will give us the last 3 characters. So for the mid function, we are going to take quite some time because it's a little bit detailed. The mid function returns the characters from the middle of a text string given a starting position and length. So here we are going to explore different options. Our text is that particular text. This time around for our text string, we have got spaces. For example, in between H and 6 there is a space there. In between 7 and E there's another space there. So in Microsoft Excel, a space is actually a character. The start number, let's begin with the simplest. We want to start from number 1, and that is the first letter within our string. Then let's say we want to return 3 characters. That will definitely give you the first 3 letters in that string, and that is true, as you can see, YRH. Let's say now we want to start from the 4th character. Now the 4th character in this particular string is not 6. It's actually the space that we have in between H and 6. Let's confirm that. Let's begin from the 4th character. We want to return, let's just leave it at 3. So if you're not keen enough, you might think that we are going to return 647, but then you realize that we'll return only 64. Why? We'll return a space and also 64 because the 4th character is actually the space. So that's why you see we are returning 64 there. Let's now modify it a little bit. What if our start character, we would want to start with character number, let's say character number 8, and then the number of characters. Character number 8 should be in between 7 and E. Then let's say we want to return 5 characters. It will return for us ERT. Why? The 8th character is the space in between 7 and E. So if we are returning 5 characters after that, we have that space which has been included. Then we also have ERT. But now the 5th character that we are returning is nothing because our text ends there. Now if we should come here and include a Y, let's see what happens. You click on enter. Now you see that Y has been included in the search. The other thing about the mid function is that it does not work with the negative values for start position and the number of characters. If you plug in a negative value, it will give you an error. So if we plug in, for example, there start number -1, it's going to give you an error. So let's now move to the len function. So how does the len function work? The len function returns the number of characters in a text string. This is our text. So you close the bracket. Now you see it's reading 10 characters. If we remove the last Y, you see it will be reading 9 characters. Now let's go to the find function. The find function returns the starting position of one text string within another text string. Now find is case sensitive. If you'd want to find H within this particular text and we'd want to begin from the first character, what is the location or the position of character H within the string? It is position 3, and that is true 1, 2, 3, as you can see. Now we have said that the find function is case sensitive. So if you should search for lowercase h, the find function will give you an error. Now let's see how the search function works. =, search. Now the search function works similar with the find function. The only difference is that the search function is not case sensitive. So once again, if you want to find for what we had before, let's say capital H, and we want to find it within this particular string, and we are starting from the beginning. So when now you click on enter, you see it's giving us 3, and that is the position of the H in that particular string. What if you change this to lowercase h? For find it did not work. For search, it's working because search is not case sensitive. So let's now move to the next function, the isNumber function, and to help us, we are just going to copy that formula down. So the isNumber function checks whether a value is a number and returns true or false. So we are going to check whether what is within that cell is a number. So is it a number? True, to mean that our search function there was giving us a number. What if we searched for something that was not within our string? Let's say Z. Then you click on enter. Now you see it's false because Z is not found within our string. So what the search function is displaying in the background is actually an error. So let's now move to the isText function. =istext. This one checks whether value is a text and returns true or false. So we want to check, is this value here a text? Aha, true. That's interesting because it looks like a number but then it is a text. Let's find the cell content. Look at the formula bar. It is actually a number which has been converted into a text. What if we convert it back into a value by tucking it in within the value function? Then you realize that now false, it's not a text because we've converted it actually into a value using the value function. The next function is the isBlank function. This one checks whether a reference is to an empty cell and returns true or false depending on the result. So we want to find out whether this particular cell is blank or not. False. Now that's interesting. Sometimes some cells may appear to be blank, but in the real sense they are not blank. Now let's look at the cell content. When you look at the formula bar, you see we have got there a string TUX. So what I actually did is that I typed in that string and then matched the font color with the field so that unless you click on the cell and check the content of the formula bar, you might not really tell whether there's a value there. So you need to be careful on that. So if we should come and delete the cell content and click on enter, now it is true, it's blank. Let's have it back. So let's look at the ISERROR function. Now don't worry about Excel errors. My next video will be handling Excel errors and I hope you'll tune in to learn more from it. So the ISERROR function equals sign ISERROR. This one checks whether value is an error and returns true or false. So is this value here an error? Close the parentheses, true, it is an error. We solve the error by searching for a character which can be found within that particular string highlighted. Let's search for R, which definitely will be found. Then now it's false because error is not being returned. Let's get it back. Now the iseven, this one just checks whether a number is even. Okay, so is 89 even? False. The isodd just checks whether a number is odd. So is 89 odd? True. Isformula. This one checks whether a reference to a cell is containing a formula and returns true or false. So we want to find, do we have a formula in that particular cell? True, we have a formula. Let's get the cell content. It's because of this equal sign. Anytime that you type in an equal sign within a cell in Excel, it becomes a formula. So if we can do away with that equal sign and we click on it, and now you see false to show that it's not a formula. Now the IFERROR function is very, very important. Equal sign IFERROR. It returns value if error if an expression is an error and the value of the expression itself otherwise. So we want to find, do we have an error in this particular cell? The last argument is the value if error. That's the value which should be displayed if we have an error. Let's say if we have an error, we display something like character not found. Then you close the quotation marks and the parentheses. So you see it returning 9 because we don't have an error here. What if we search for a character which cannot be found within our string so that we get an error, let's say a Z, and you click on enter. Now you see it's returning an error and the IFERROR function is returning the value if error which is character not found. So that is how some of the auxiliary functions that we have in Microsoft Excel work. Let me know at the comment section of this video the other auxiliary functions and how they work. I hope you've enjoyed this video as I have done, and thank you so much for watching.